Hello to all the lovely cloud enthusiasts. How are you all doing today? I hope that you all are doing great physically, mentally, financially, as well as you're trying to become a better version of yourself than you were yesterday so that your future self can thank for the steps that you have taken today. My name is Tejas. As you all know me, you already have been following me. You already have been following me on LinkedIn, be it on YouTube, and I know that you have been leaving lovely comments so that I can interact with you guys. But even then, there's a quick introduction, a very short introduction about me. Hi guys, my name is Tejas. As I said, Tejas Mahendrakar, and that's on the screen. If you see, that's my LinkedIn username. You can search for Tejas Mahendrakar, and then you will land on my page, and then you can connect with me. For YouTube, the Cloud Minds is the name of my channel. If you go on YouTube, the video that you're right now watching is on YouTube. So if you go to the Cloud Minds, I'll be very happy if you can subscribe to the channel, if you can share it with your friends, with the people who are trying to learn the cloud technology, and for the people who have already known or have been in the cloud technology for quite some time, it's a good refresher for them. All right. And if you want to interact with me, there is always Gmail. The cloud simplifier at gmail.com is the email address that I've been using, because I call myself the cloud simplifier because I believe in simplifying the clouds, and I'll try to give analogies of whatever we are trying to learn today. All right, real world analogies so that you can understand. Because when I started my cloud journey, and I've been telling this in my previous videos as well, that whenever I've started my cloud journey, it was very difficult for me to understand all these cloud jargons. But then whenever I learned about some service or some other jargon, I tried to find it on Google what it is, and I was always trying to find a real world analogy for that, so that I can relate to how that is working, and I could relate to how this service is working. For example, if I talk about VPCs, for example, they are like the fences that surround our house, and those fences are heavily guarded. Nobody can come in, nobody can go out from that fence. The only way that we can get out of that fence into the world is using the gate, and I call that as an internet gateway. So you all know that VPC, if we have to traverse out to the internet, the VPC has an internet gateway, and there are route tables within, and whatever are the complexes, for example, whatever are the flats or houses that are within that fence, cannot go out, venture out without using the internet gateway. That this is one of the examples of how I use the analogy. But we are not going to talk about VPCs today. We're going to talk about integration of two services today, and how we can query within those two services. And by listening to query, if you have thought about RDS, no, we are not going to talk about RDS. We're going to talk about two services, like I said, S3 as well as Athena. Now, you all might know Athena is a serverless service for querying, analyzing. It's mostly used for analysis. So it's a very useful, helpful, easy tool to use. It's very easy to set up. And if you have some amount of data which is sitting within the S3 as, say, a CSV format. For example, I'll today take an example of CSV format, but of course there are different formats that you can always use. But today we'll be taking example of a CSV format, and then I'll try to connect AWS S3 to the Athena so that they both can talk to each other and get the data from there. All right. So without much ado, we've already covered about the theory. Let's jump on to practical and try and understand how we can do this. Now let me go to, now as you all know, when we land, when we log in, this is the login page or the dashboard or the console home for the AWS management console. From here, whatever services that you have recently visited will be shown here. Like for me, Athena, S3, Lambda, CloudWatch, etc. are being shown. So I'll open AWS S3, as well as let me open Athena as well, because it will take quite a bit of time to open, to load that page, of course. And now, if you have to query from the Athena to the Amazon, to the S3 buckets, what you need to do is couple of things. First of all, you need to create a bucket and then upload some kind of data. So I'd been to this one of these online websites. This is a very nice website. Some people people call it Kaggle, some people call it Kaggle. It doesn't really matter what the pronunciation is. The important point is we get a lot of data set there. So I had been to Kaggle and then I have downloaded the data set from there. And what I've done is I've created one of the buckets, the Cloud Simplifier dataset bucket. And within that, what I've done is I have created two folders. One is Athena output and another is dataset. So if you go within the dataset, you can see that there is one dataset.in.csv. Let me also show you what it is. I have downloaded the dataset here. If you see, it's a very simple kind of CSV. It has something called as ID code. It has something called as account number. Nothing fancy. It has like 5 to 6 or maybe 7 columns with maybe 8 rows. It is a very simple CSV website. I just wanted to show you how to work with Athena so that you can utilize this and create some complex architectures. All right, let's go back and then I'll show you that I have uploaded the data set here. And then I go back to Athena. Let me just show you what Athena is. Whenever you go to Athena dashboard, Athena's page, when you land on Athena's page, it says Amazon Athena is an interactive query service. We use SQL here that makes it easy to analyze the data in Amazon S3 and other federated data sources using standard SQL. That's what it is mentioned here. Now let's see how, for a bit, how Athena works. Athena point to your data source, which is S3. We'll see how to do that programmatically. Then in Amazon Athena, you can just execute that particular, whatever the query that we are writing, we can just execute that query. And then Athena query editor lets you author and run SQL statements to query your data source, which is the S3. Now S3 will be taken in as the data source, and then a tabular format will be created, and it will be very easy to interact with us with that table using the SQL queries. All right, and later what you can do is analyze results, query results, and deliver them within seconds. Now as it is written here, it is a serverless service. Athena is a serverless service, so it scales in and scales out automatically whenever there is a demand. All right, once you log into Athena, now if I have to use a real world analogy, we can consider Athena, we can consider Athena as being the chef in one of the busy restaurants, right? So we hand him over the order or the SQL query, and then within seconds they will return the results or whatever is the recipe that is desired. All right, so you can consider him, like I said, as a chef within a very busy restaurant who will hand over your food very quickly. All right, so that is one of the real world analogies that I can think of. Let's go back and try to understand how we create a SQL query on create a data set and then query it with the SQL. Now, when I land on Athena's dashboard, I just have to click on Query Editors tab. Okay, once I land here on the Query Editors tab, what I have to do is, it says before you run your first query, you need to set up a query result location in Amazon S3. Now that is the reason why I had the Athena output folder as well created. Now why this is important? Because whatever queries that you run here will be stored, the output of those as well as the queries will be stored there, so that whenever you go back to these recent queries, here is what you can see. And that is the reason why we have to provide an output location for this query editor, and that has to be an Amazon S3 folder within a bucket. Now what we can do is I can go back here, I can click on the dataset bucket that I had created, and I can select the Athena output, and then I can say choose, and I say save. Once I say save, this will be stored as the output location for the query result location. Now, in order for me to expedite all of this, I have already written the query. I'll just show you how to create the query, because if you see, the database right now is by default, there's no database or the database schema that I have created. This is AWS data catalog, that is the data source, and there is, as I said, there is no database schema that is created. I go back and then I create a database schema called my test schema. All right, now I'll select this and then I'll click on run. It has completed, it has created a my test schema as the database. Now just to confirm this, you can click on the drop down and you can see that my test schema has come here. But you see that there are no tables. Of course it says one, but there are no tables as of now. Whenever you click on this, it will not show anything because we have not yet created any table. All right, let me open another query editor, and then what I can do is I can copy this entire query when I create an external table called my test database table. Now let me paste this query here and then I'll tell you what exactly I'm trying to do. Now this, of course, if you are familiar with the SQL, you would understand very easily what this is, but I just wanted to tell you what line numbers 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6 mean. Let me go by line. So first line, if you see that what I'm saying is I'm creating an external table and I'm saying if it doesn't exist, just then create it within the database, which is the my test schema database, and then the name of the table will be my test database table. What will it have? It will have columns called ID code, account number, O score, C score, spatial aptitude, perceptual aptitude, as well as career. The same amount of columns that I have had in the data set or the CSV file. Okay. Now, row format delimited. What is the row format and how is it delimited? It is delimited and terminated by the commas. Whenever you see a escape character or a slash, a forward slash, then sorry, if it is a backward slash, just excuse me, you just have to escape it, and then the lines are terminated by a slash n. If there is a slash n, then consider that the particular line is terminated. The most important part here to look at is the location. Now the location that we provide here is the cloud simplifier dataset bucket and the dataset folder itself, and not the actual file. Remember that you do not need to provide the actual file, and that is one of the reasons why we need to create a location, a partition, because usually whenever you see the buckets that are being queried within the Athena, the buckets are like there is some bucket name, there are folders within folders, and there is the year, month, date, time, etc., so that those particular uh, folders are isolated, and whatever is present within the folder, be it one data set, be it multiple data sets or the CSV files, everything is combined together and then got inside the Athena. That is the reason why you should have very limited CSV files or the data sets in any format, doesn't matter, but then you'll have to have a limited files under this particular folder, because that is only the folder is what you can provide here. All right, let me run this query and then see if it is running or if it provides any error. Okay, fine. It has run the query. What it has done is it has created a table. If you see, this is the table here, and then it has populated it by using whatever data was there within this particular location or the CSV file. Now what I'll do is I'll create another editor. Of course, you can do it in the same editor as well, but I would like to create a new one, a new tab, and then say select star from the dataset or the database name, excuse me, the database name dot the table name. Of course, you don't have to do it because we have already selected the schema here, but this is a very good practice to do. So when I say and run this, let me just limit it to 5. Okay, when I run this, whatever is the data that I get is the 5 or 4 results back, because it considers the first one as the ID code. It has considered the first one as ID code. It shouldn't have, but it has considered. For that, we'll have to remove the headers, and there is also an option to remove the headers, of course. Okay, so what it has done is it is showing us all the 4 results, and you can see that all of the 4 results that have been provided here are from the dataset itself. It is this simple, guys. So maybe within 10 minutes you have learned how to query within the Athena for any of the data sets that is available within the S3. Of course, it can be a huge data set itself. Like I said, Amazon Athena is serverless, so it will scale out and then it will accommodate all the big data sets that is required, because it is being serverless. Of course, there is pay as you go model. You'll of course incur some charges. All right, guys, just a quick recap. What we had done is we had created bucket, the name of the bucket, and then we had created 2 folders. One of them was output folder and one of them was dataset folder. Within the dataset, we have the dataset that will be required to query within the Athena. In Athena, the first thing that I did was create a database. Then the second thing that I did was create a table, and then the location of the file or the folder is very important. Here, whenever we find the folders, whatever is within that folder will everything will be picked up, and then the fifth will be to query that particular table that we have been created, and we'll get the results. This simple, guys. You don't have to use glue crawlers or other stuff like that. You just can directly query from Athena to the S3. All right, this is all what I wanted to show you today, how to query from Athena and then use S3 as the data source. If you have liked this video, do not forget to share, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. You will definitely miss these videos. Of course, it has taken a lot of time for me to create these videos, but I promise that I will be creating 2 to 3 videos per week, and then I'll be imparting all of the knowledge that I have about the AWS. All right, guys, this is Tejas, the Cloud Simplifier, signing off, and you all have a great day.